Want to watch this episode? Check it out on my YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/@lanternslive. Welcome to Lanterns Live, the only live stream YouTube channel dedicated solely to the Green Lantern universe, but maybe also MOTU sometimes. I think I always say that. Sometimes MOTU. I'm joined by Tim Sheridan. Tim, it's been a little bit since we last talked. The last time we talked, I think we spent 10 minutes before the live stream talking about the MOTU movie, which I had seen a preview of, and you had not.
I had not seen it. I had read the screenplay, and I'd seen hundreds and hundreds of pages of stuff from behind the scenes, but I hadn't seen a cut of the movie until I went to the premiere in Hollywood.
And then you had told me that I wasn't able to talk about the fact that you were writing the movie tie-in comic, which is out tomorrow.
Which comes out tomorrow, June the 10th.
Which I've read.
Oh,
Much
fantastic.
like the Masters of the Universe movie, I got an early viewing of the book, and I've read it. Yeah.
So you know then, and a lot of folks know now because the preview pages came out the other day, that it takes place, if anybody who's watching, if you watched the live action movie, the big live action movie that is in theaters, that this takes place inside the movie. This is not a prequel. It's not a sequel. It's
right.
The unfortunate term that Hollywood has dubbed a midquel, which I hate.
Oh, that's awful. I don't like that at all.
Because it sounds mid. It's so mid.
Yeah.
But it takes place within the movie. There's a time jump. There's two time jumps that happen in the film, and this takes place in the first one, after the first act of the movie. And it's a hero's journey featuring a character that I love dearly, and I hope people who watch the movie are craving more of this character and more of his story, and that's Orko the Great. And some of the other characters from the movie as well will pop up.
Right. So I have some diehard MOTU friends. My friend Jay Glatfelter from Geek Dad Life, who I've known for probably 20 years now, I'm actually, after this at 6:30 Pacific time, I'm jumping on his show to talk about the movie. He said he met you at the premiere. He knew that I saw the preview, even though I signed the NDA and they said, don't talk about the movie. And I'm like, but the movie's wonderful and I want to talk about it. Please let me tell people that it's wonderful. I told him, like, it was January that I saw the movie, and he said, is Orko in the movie? And I told him, Orko is not in the movie. And I was like, dying to tell him.
On screen in the preview you saw?
Yes.
Okay, because a lot of people saw previews that didn't include Orko.
So I saw it was amazing. So it did the movie. It didn't even say like directed by Travis Knight. There was no credits at all, but it did have the Orko post movie scene.
Yeah. Well,
what I told him was kind of the truth, because Orko's not in the movie proper. Orko is in the post movie stuff. And the thing is, when I saw it, A, the audience went nuts. And then B, I was like, I think I see Merman back there. I think Merman's in the back. And so when I saw the movie last Friday, I completely forgot to look for Merman. Someone uploaded it to Threads. Merman's totally in that shot with Orko in the market in the back. Perfectly bright green and yellow and everything you want out of Merman.
It's so easy to miss because you're just like, Orko.
You couldn't hear anything Orko was saying because people were going nuts.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
You could only catch like half of it. Didn't get the other two post-credit things in there. Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh.
That's a
celebrating.
Mac.
We're celebrating over here.
But I didn't get the other two.
So you didn't get the other two. See, the mid credits and the post credits. Yeah.
Right.
I got to tell you, the Orko beat, the moment with Orko is in the screenplay. It was in the screenplay, so I knew that was there. There was another mention. There was another mention of Orko in the screenplay, very brief. That it didn't seem to make it on screen, so I feel like I'm revealing too much information there. It's not really mine to reveal, but that was the thing that led me to concoct the story of The Wings of Fate, the book that's coming out tomorrow. And part of it was is there something that as a fan that I feel like I can add a little more color, add a little bit more to the story without, trampling over what Travis Knight and Chris Butler and all the people that made that movie have done? Is there a little niche that I can occupy that'll add a little bit more? And I thought, if I'm a fan, I'd like to know what's Orko doing during all this. Where's Orko? Yeah. And so that was the start of the whole thing for me.
It gets to a point in the movie, and again, I can't recommend the movie enough. I love the movie. I'm not like blowing smoke. Listen, I was 5 years old in 1982. I was prime He-Man age. But watching the movie, you like forget like that, oh yeah, Orko's not here. Like for some reason, I just kind of got into the story that I didn't think about it. So I think when he finally shows up post-movie, it's like, oh yeah.
Well, I looked at it too. I mean, I don't know anything about it except I look at it as a fan, as a viewer, as a promise. Yeah. It's like, just like the other two credits tags in the movie, I feel like it's a promise for what's to come. And to be fair, like there are so many characters in this movie as it is. There, that because of that, you don't get a ton of screen time for every character. I mean, that's not how movies work. And so it's nice to be able to feel like, oh, good, there's places we can go. There are more characters we'll be able to meet and have fun with and see what they're up to for the first time. That's why Sorceress is a big character in The Wings of Fate. I felt like she's a huge presence in the movie and looms large, but surprisingly, her screen time is not as much as you'd think, based on how much she's a presence, but actually, on screen, not as much. But that's the nature of making a movie, like you've got to point the camera where you point the camera to tell the story you're trying to tell. For me, the luxury of doing the comic book is I get to say, okay, I've got another camera, and so I'm going to point it over here for a little bit, and let's see what's going on with these guys.
Yeah. Read the first issue, loved it. And I'm a big fan of the Sorceress's sort of hawk form. And so so in the movie, see, this is the problem with me. So like I grew up a Masters of the Universe fan, right? But didn't really follow it in like the 90s when they did the space stuff or the 2000X. I watched maybe a little bit of it. I watched the Kevin Smith.
That show's good. You should watch that show.
I know. I should. Is it available somewhere? It's got to be on Amazon, right? I'm assuming, maybe.
The show is available for purchase on, I'm sure, many places and people should purchase it so that they can.
I'll say Amazon.
Everybody gets paid who worked on it. But yes, that show is around. You can find it. It's a great show. Mike Young Productions. The 2002
I remember playing
show.
It on the Game Boy Advance. There was a version of 2000X on the Game Boy Advance that I played.
I don't know that we would have had Revelation without it. I mean, it really serves as a great sort of bridging narrative, which helped to kind of, the Filmation cartoon can look a little goofy now. You look back on it and it can be a little funny. And I think that 2000X show kind of aged it up a little bit, kind of legitimized the story a little bit for people. And it felt like it grew up just a little bit. And then we really took that to an extreme, and we really made the show kind of grow up with us, or made the property grow up with us for Revelation and Revolution, and looked at it through an adult lens. I feel like what Travis Knight has done is whereas in Masters of the Universe, Revelation and Revolution, we said, what if MOTU had grown up with us? I feel like Travis looked at this and said, well, what if we all never grew up?
Right.
Like that's how it feels.
One of the best things about the movie is, since I wasn't really following MOTU for the last, I don't know, 40 years or so, like I watched Filmation, obviously all of them, had the toys, all that stuff. Then there was a big gap of time before the movie came out. And I feel like it's the exact same journey as like Adam. Adam is a fish out of water on both Earth, and then he comes back to Eternia and he's a fish out of water again. And it's basically playing on his nostalgia for Eternia.
That's exactly what they were doing. I mean, it's a brilliant meta narrative that's happening with Adam. He's a fan of his life and his world and all the people that occupy it, and all the heroes and villains, and he roots for them, and he gives them fun names, and he tells people that how real it is to him, and they make fun of him, and he's like, no, you don't understand how real this is for me.
Right.
And that, it's just like, it puts you right back to being a kid. It makes you feel like, I know exactly how he feels. When we were, when we were working on Revelation, Teddy Biaselli at Netflix said, when we were kids, this was Shakespeare to us. And it's even more than that. It's not just that it's Shakespeare. It was real to us. We could, it was a real thing. And that's how it feels for Adam, I think, in the movie, which is a really smart and cool way for us to connect to him.
Yeah. I
unfortunately for the where our book is set within the timeline of the movie, Adam is still a little kid. He hasn't, he's on Earth. He's lost the sword, and so you'd think, oh no, well then He-Man's not going to appear in the Wings of Fate. But you'd be wrong.
He's on
you'd
the
be
cover.
Wrong, Ralph. Because the magic of comic books and the power of Grayskull afford us the opportunity to be able to bring He-Man into the book. So he is coming.
There is a character I noticed in the first issue named Griffin.
Well,
is that a nod to Griffin Newman?
There's a Orko in the beginning is doing a magic trick and says, "Watch me pull a wild griffin out of this man's hat."
That's not
and
Griffin.
That was absolutely, though. I wrote that as his first line as a nod to my friend Griffin Newman, who voiced Orko for us on Revelation and Revolution, and is always going to be the voice now in my head when I'm putting words in those word balloons in comic books, or when I'm writing Orko. His is the voice that I hear, and so it was just a little, I said I had an exchange with him on Instagram with Griffin when I showed those pages, and I said, imagine how this whole thing would have gone bust if your name was Dave. Like you could,
right?
Like it could be that I'm going to pull a wild griffin out of a hat, but a wild Dave is not really.
Yeah. Griffins may or may not play into the story.
Well, I don't know about griffins, but there are certainly manticores, so keep an eye out for those guys.
All right. Everyone
anyway,
definitely...
so yes, pick up that book. It's out tomorrow. Issue 1, Masters of the Universe, The Wings of Fate. If you loved the movie and you just want more, that's what this is. It's a side quest. It's got characters that you maybe want to see more of. And it goes to the heart of what the movie is about, which is like what makes a hero, and who gets to walk the hero's path. And so I hope you enjoy it.
I feel like the movie. More people need to see the movie. I'm just saying that right now. You're going to have a blast.
They will.
And it's one of those things.
Is so good.
I think the word of mouth is going to be really, really great for this movie. I know, like recently, there's been this resurgence of Speed Racer, and which is a movie I love, and people are like coming on board. They just released a 4K release, did a limited run, theatrical re-release and stuff.
People are starting to look at that movie differently again,
they're
right?
Starting to look at it, and they're like, why wasn't this a big deal back whenever? And I'm hoping this movie doesn't do the same thing. I want more people to see this movie because it's so fun.
Listen,
It's
they're gonna keep going to the theater, but when it's out of the theaters, people are going to be watching it on Amazon, and it's going to keep getting eyeballs. People will keep watching it and rewatching it. I think it's a rewatchable movie, and it's great for the whole family. I think it's got a long life ahead of it.
I think so too.
I can only hope that some of that translates to comics as well. I mean, comics,
right?
You know this. I mean, we always talk about comics like they're an endangered species, and the comic book stores are an endangered species. And, Masters of the Universe is not that different in that there aren't a ton of diehard Masters of the Universe fans out in the world compared to other fandoms. But, if we get an opportunity we have a big live action movie that people are bringing their kids and their grandkids to go see. And maybe there's a kid who's walking out of that theater, suddenly I'm really into this Masters of the Universe thing. Hopefully their parents, their grandparents are going to take them, walk them into because they want more. They're not going to get a sequel for a while.
Yeah.
Walk them into your local comic book shop and say, here's a book that you can read all by yourself that is going to give you more information. And we'll get more Masters of the Universe fans. We're going to get more comic book fans. More kids are going to want to walk into comic book stores and pick up those comics. And I think things like that, that's why where these big movies can really help with other parts of the business. I hope that's what we see.
So I think, and I've been saying this, is that James Gunn, by putting Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific in Superman without any explanation, with zero origins, is now selling more Guy Gardner books. And there was a Guy Gardner one shot that came out a couple weeks ago. I still haven't read it. I need to read it. I've been so busy lately. I have a new job and I'm going back to school, and it's just been crazy. But I don't think they would have released a Guy Gardner one shot, this year if it wasn't for people wanting to know more about this sort of asshole Green Lantern that got dropped into the Superman movie.
I came to comics from movies and TV, and I was shocked at the numbers that we were looking at in terms of how many people were reading a comic book versus how many people would watch an animated, I wrote animated DC movies, Batman and Superman, and we had, the number of people who were buying and watching those movies compared to comic books was astronomical. Now think about the live action, big theatrical cinematic movies, and the numbers that you're talking about there are exponentially higher. So you're just getting more eyeballs on the thing, more awareness of the characters and the story, and that's all really good, but it doesn't do anything unless parents and uncles and aunts and mothers tell their kids, hey, there's a place we can go where you can find more and more of these stories, and it's the local comic book shop. But DC's
putting it in trailers. The Supergirl trailer at the end, it has "Go check out World of Tomorrow" by Tom King, or Woman of Tomorrow.
I know. I wish I could have gotten Amazon to do that with my book, but
maybe. Okay, so speaking of TV shows, there's a big show coming out called Lanterns. It's in less than 3 months. I'm very, very excited about it. Obviously,
me too.
I have a question because, I'm scrounging news and any sort of information I could get, and press releases, and
me too,
and any sort of tidbits. The show takes place in Rushville, Nebraska, which I'm not sure is a real place, but it also takes place in Sheridan County.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Do you know if that has anything to do with you?
No one has reached out to me and told me this or confirmed this. I saw you posted about it, which, by the way, good detective work. That was some fine sleuthing on your part.
It's in there, and I think it's on Kelly McDonald's patch, maybe? Sheridan County Sheriff or something?
It's a real place.
Okay.
So that's... it's certainly a real county. I think it might... I don't know if the city is real or the town is real. I think it might be. Regardless, look... I don't know. I should text Tom King. He was in the room. Maybe he knows. But I really do need to ask him, actually. Come on, that's just a coincidence, right? Because it's not that there's... I would be flattered. It's not there is a world. I mean, I know Tom. I mean, there is a world in which, you know, I remember I went to dinner with him while he was here working on the show at one point. And it's possible that the next day he went in and said they were figuring out what town this was going to take place in. And, you know, but I don't know. I don't think he cares to go that deep. I think it's probably a wild coincidence. I wouldn't be surprised if it's.
I feel like DC, but DC does a lot of that stuff. They'll name things after like street names after creators and stuff.
But then I've also seen rumors online about like there being a mystery about Alan Scott in the story, and I think
I've been fanning that flame.
Have you?
Yeah,
that's probably
because I don't. Because listen, here's the thing.
If there was, what a clue they'd be putting there for the audience. You know, if they like somehow worked in a person whose name is associated with, like, you know, Nodell Boulevard or something. You know,
they do stuff like that. They totally do stuff like that. And for me, I was
I did it in Reign of the Supermen. I had Burnett Boulevard named after Alan Burnett.
So yeah, for me, I'm not a fan of the suit in the show. The one that was hanging in the closet. I'm like, so my brain was like, we know there's a murder in Rushville, so maybe it was Alan Scott, and maybe that's why else would two Green Lanterns be there to investigate a murder? And maybe they're going through his closet, and maybe that's Alan's suit, because there's like this green spot here that kind of looks like a cape. But then the second,
looks like a Silver Age suit. It's got the symbol, right? So it's not. Yeah, so it wouldn't really be. It's not this.
I was in denial.
It's not the green version of this guy.
Yeah, and so for me, I was like, when the second teaser came out and Kyle Chandler was wearing that suit, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not Alan's.
It's tough because, like, generally, Alan is kept separate in many ways from the core and from the Silver Age and beyond stuff.
Someone's trying to fold him in, though. I've read a couple comics where Alan may have interacted with a Guardian.
I mean, listen, I've certainly been trying to draw the connections and make the parallel, and you know, I've got, you know, I tried to, in several pages of that book, I tried to make the case for the connection. And by the way, this isn't stuff I invented. That's me mining the lore and finding all this great stuff that other people have written and trying to piece it together and tie those threads together and say, yeah, I mean, these things are all part of the same power. They're all part of the same magic at the center of creation. And let's see how they connect to each other. I mean, I think Alan's power, I think the Starheart, you know, Alan and Vlad, I think their power is simply based on a more raw, primordial version of the same stuff that powers, you know, the Lantern Corps today. But yeah, that's my idea. But it's my head canon. It's not real canon until they give me the Green Lantern Corps book when Morgan decides to retire, which they'll never do. But
he's been knocking it out of the park.
I know, he's great, right? I love
that. The like, it's been good. It's been really, really good. And then I want to say issue 16, which was last month. 17 comes out tomorrow. I'll be covering that on Tuesday because I'm back in school and I can't do it tomorrow. But issue 16 with Aya her body becoming like the head of like the Manhunters and stuff was just insane. And like me and Will from the Green Lanterns podcast, who says your ring looks great.
Will, who gave me this ring, by the way. Look at this awesome thing. And I don't have the lantern here. I'm at my office. My lantern's at home. But you'll see that soon enough. Will and I are going to be talking soon.
But man, alive, that everybody in like across the Green Lantern sort of community is like on fire with that issue 16.
Yeah,
it felt really good. So yeah, let's talk about this. You sent me this book, and I was going to try to read it before the last time we talked, and I just didn't have the time. So I let you know that I would read this in June, which is now Eisner nominated.
The Eisner Award nominated for the first time, DC Pride anthology, which also for the first time last year was a new kind of an anthology. I mean, there are stories, anthologized stories within it, but my job, Andrea Shea asked me to come in as kind of the lead writer on the thing to create a story that would tie all of the anthology stories together, like one overarching narrative. And we put Alan Scott at the center of that. And then I also told an Alan Scott story, which is very much, the whole thing is very much a coda to my Alan Scott book. And so if you read that book, if you like that other Eisner-nominated book, if you like that one, this is DC Pride 2025 was a nice little addendum, I think, for fans of Alan Scott and many other characters too. So many great people, writers and artists and editors, and so many great people worked on that book, and it's really rewarding that they're being recognized, that it got picked up for the first time. That DC Pride book has never been nominated. So I'm so glad that the Eisners are recognizing it.
Well, one of the reasons why I didn't read it last time, because I knew it was an anthology. So I'm like, I'll just read your story and we can talk about that.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. My story is the whole thing.
I started reading it and I was like, oh no, this is something different. And I would even say like, it's almost not an anthology. I won't tell the Eisners that, but it's really good. My wife was going to read it. She's like, hey, I want to read this. And I said, great. You have to read this first. And the reason why I say that, because, Tim, there's a moment in this book where, and this never happens to me, I got emotional.
Oh, really?
And it was the moment, and it's been out a year, but I'm just going to say, everyone should read it.
Go ahead.
It's the moment when Alan sort of turns towards the portal and sees everybody waiting for him to come in.
Yeah.
It was really like
it's
heartwarming.
Actually waiting for him to come out.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm a straight white man. I'm 49 years old. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if I'm the right demographic for this book. But as I started reading it, I was like, you know what? Maybe I am. Maybe this is the type of story that the dudes like me should probably check out. I don't know.
That's the same thing with the Alan Scott series as well. Yeah. I mean, I that book wasn't, it ends up on all like the Pride reading lists and best ofs and LGBTQ stuff. And I love that, but it's not just a book for queer people. It's for everyone. I mean, Alan Scott is a hero for everyone. And I think, that story, there are different ways to look at it. I mean, you could just enjoy it as a, and this includes DC Pride 2025, like Alan's story in general. It could be something that appeals to you as a queer person, but it can also be something that appeals to you as a superhero fan. But I think in general, straight folks who maybe, especially if you don't have a lot of LGBTQ people in your life, if maybe you were raised in a place where you have a lot of ideas about that and maybe you're rethinking them, it's worth getting to know these characters. It's worth it, because especially when in DC Pride, when they're written by in an authentic way by people who sort of share these traits with these characters, who know these stories intimately because there are stories. It's worth it, because that's ultimately what I think all entertainment, but especially comics, are designed to do. They're designed to help us meet each other out here in the woods, and learn a little bit about each other, and hopefully, like you, Ralph, hopefully you read that book and you think, oh, well, we're not all that different. We're kind of all the same. Yeah. I did a movie called Superman Man of Tomorrow, not the big live action one coming out, but I did an animated movie with the same title. And, that story was, for me, I wrote it from my perspective when I was a kid, or a teenager coming out of the closet, because it's a story that deals with Superman, with Kal-El, hiding the fact that he's from Krypton, and he's terrified that people are going to find out who and what he really is, because people hate people who are different from them, and right. how do I deal with that? And I had a very real emotional connection to it because my story has so many similarities. But Ralph, so many people from so many different walks of life have that kind of story, whatever the situation is, whatever the specific details of your story are, we all feel like outsiders sometimes. We all feel different, or, like the world is not going to like us. They're going to hate us. They're going to reject us. And I think we can all meet on that ground. We can all meet on that same common ground and say, well, what we see might be different, but what we feel is the same. Yeah. And that should bring us all closer together,
Yeah. And you can pretty much pick that up through the writing of each individual writer's story as the book goes through. There's all kinds of different experiences on display here, and they all feel very personal. When I got to the end, I was like, great, I've read the book. I loved it. So just so you know, I thought the book was terrific. And then there was a backup story by Jenny Blake, and I was like, well, I finished reading Tim's stuff and I'm good to go, but you know what? I don't want to be an asshole. Like, let me read it from book to book. And it's called Master Planner by Jenny Blake, which is probably it's autobiography. It's an autobiographical story. It's not really about DC characters. It's about Jenny. It's about her and her story.
Her journey. Yeah.
And, found it just incredibly fascinating and heartwarming. Talking about
you wonder why that book is up for an Eisner Award. Now that's the story right there. That's the thing that brought it home.
Yeah. It's, very personal. And I get, I hear a lot of stories, from friends and stuff, dealing with, basically assholes, who can't deal with, someone being different than them. And this book has some stuff where that tackles like anger, and some that, are a little bit more, their stories are different. With her story, the thing I loved about it, and I wish this was the case with everybody, was that Jenny found a lot of comfort in the comic community, in DC Comics, when she came over to DC and stuff. And it was really, really touching, because like, if you were to believe the internet, everyone on this planet sucks and they're all garbage. It's like the difference between like listening to a Star Wars fan online bitch and complain about whatever thing that happened in Mandalorian and Grogu. It's the difference between that and going to like Star Wars Celebration, where everybody's interacting with everybody and like having a good time. I loving Star Wars.
I sing from this hymnal all the time, which is that, I started writing comics in lockdown. The first time there were no conventions. We were all locked away during COVID, and the only reactions to anything I was writing were on social media. And I couldn't, to go by that, I thought I was a miserable failure in comics. Like I thought, everybody liked what I did in animation, but I guess maybe I'm just not cut out for comics. And then after COVID, I started getting out and going to conventions, and I realized, this is the antidote to social media, where people just want to go and talk about what they hate. Because people go to Star Wars Celebration, or they go to Fan Expo, Anaheim, which I'll be at the end of this month.
I live in Anaheim. I should probably look into going to that.
Please get your tickets. Come to Fan Expo Anaheim, my friend. I will see you there. But they come there. You come there to talk about what you love and to share it with other people. It recharges my batteries to go to those places, because if you just get your information from social media or online, you're going to think the world is a different place than it really is. And that's ultimately kind of at the core of like this book, like DC Pride or the Alan Scott book. When we get to know each other, you said earlier that, you were talking about people who are afraid of or who don't like people that are different than them. I don't think it's the difference that scares people. I think it's that when they meet us, they find we're the same, and that scares them. I think for some reason they want to feel that we're different. They want to make us feel other. You're different than me. I don't want to have anything to do with you. But then they get to talking to us. You meet somebody at a convention, you read their story, you read Jenny's story in DC Pride, and you think, they're just like me. But what does that mean about me? And if you're insecure, you start to worry that it means something about you that's going to wreck your whole self-perception and your idea of the world. But the truth is, that's the greatest gift we have in communication with other human beings, is when we can see ourselves in them, when we hear our story in their story. That divide, all those divisions that exist between us start to go away, and we realize we have so much in common. Pieces of art. It's all about, if you go to a museum and you and I both look at a painting at a museum, we can see something, even physically. Like, I may perceive the color red different than the way you do. We would never know, because we live with our whole lives. I think about that all the time. Yeah. But so we may see something different, but we might feel the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's and that brings us together. That's what the whole thing is. That's why DC Pride, that's why those books are important for everybody to read. They're not just for queer people. The Alan Scott and his story is certainly not just for LGBTQ people. It's for everybody. And I think hopefully you'll learn a little bit about our story, about our history when you read those books, and it makes you realize we're not all that different in the end. And that's not a bad thing. Being a little bit more like each other is a good thing.
It drives me nuts. I had a family member DM me once. I had posted something because I try to teach family members who skew one way as far as like their politics go and stuff. I got a DM. So I post stuff all the time, just like, hey, look it. A family member sent me a DM that said that they didn't like the term trans youth. It was off-putting. And I'm like, I can't talk to you about this. This is ridiculous. Because there's someone within our family who is a trans man, and we've sort of known that that's what their trajectory was since they were very young. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know them and you have no problem with them. Why does this other person have to be sort of shunned or ridiculed or looked down upon? It is weird that how like the internet and you don't like they just don't understand. I like seeing more people out and about and making it sort of just a regular part of our lives, instead of like thinking it's something out there in the world that's like destroying. I don't know.
Lots of people don't realize, there's a veil that needs lifting for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
They don't realize how much of their ideology, their thinking, their feelings about things has been I want to find the right word for this, because I don't want to say that they've been, I don't want to make it sound like they've been brainwashed or that they've been fed something, but there is an agenda. There has been for a long time a political agenda from people who try to divide us, who get the advantage of money and power by dividing people up and conquering. And if I can divide you and appeal to this segment, I can get elected, or I can get you to watch my news channel, and I'm going to make money at the end of the day. This is a direct result of tactics, of people who crave power and influence and money. And it's been going on for a long time.
Yes.
And so it's where the disconnect is when you see a family member, you're like, well, you have a family member who, is trans and you don't have a problem. But then you think about trans people in general and you have an issue with them. That's because you have been carefully, targeted by folks who want you to hate things or be afraid of things. And if you're afraid of it, then they can manipulate that and turn that into their advantage for power and money and influence.
Yeah.
And that's just like, if that veil would lift for people, if people would realize how much of this stuff is, these people with money and power just trying to figure out what they can do to get under our skin to try and gain an advantage. If we could just all see that, I think things would be a lot different. But In the meantime, it's up to us individually to try and change people's hearts, because that's the only way you change their minds.
I went and reread the first appearance of Jon Stewart recently. And in that story, I don't know the last time you've read that. In that story, there is a politician who's running for office in front of a big arena crowd, and he's a known racist.
Yeah.
And he basically hires a black man to fake an assassination attempt on him to divide the nation more. And I'm reading this and I'm like, fuck, man, Denny O'Neil, like, it made me sad because it was like, felt like it was ripped out of today's headlines. And I'm like,
well, it's always been this way.
Why can't we grow from this? Why can't we move past this kind of garbage? And I was just like, man, it's so good. And Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, that run of Green Lantern is so great. But you reread it and the social issues are still happening. During lockdown, we watched, my wife and I watched Head of the Class, like the whole series of the 80s show, Head of the Class.
I loved that show so much.
I don't know.
Are you a Howard Hessman or a Billy Connolly fan?
Oh, well, Howard Hessman, because, Billy Connolly was only on for one season. And so when we got to Billy, yeah.
Only one season?
Yeah. When we got to Billy Connolly, I'm like, well, it's a bummer that Howard Hessman is on. But like Billy Connolly, we kept on watching. I was like, oh, he's great.
He is great, but I'm a Howard Hessman nut. So
watch if you get a chance. It's very entertaining. Try to not think about the Dennis Blunden of it all and the Nickelodeon.
Oh, I know.
And all that
that's
stuff.
difficult. Yeah.
But like literally every episode, they're talking about the same shit we're talking about today, and it just makes you sad on the inside because you're like, this show is trying to shine a light on this stuff and get people to like think better and do better things. And here we are like 30 years later, oh God, like 40 years later. And then be like, none of it's all still happening. It's all still happening. Let me, as far as DC Pride goes, I'm not really sure how long DC Pride's been around. Maybe, I don't know.
That was the fifth incarnation. The sixth edition of DC Pride is out this month. Great. From Jadzia Axelrod and Nicole Maines.
Do you know like the history of DC Pride? Because I know like for the longest time, like, geez Louise, when was it Earth 2 Green Lantern came out and Alan Scott in that story was gay. The assholes on the internet were up in arms and stuff like that. Do you know basically like when DC sort of started embracing? Oh yeah. Did you like face to face?
Well, sometimes. Yeah. I travel all over the world. So, I go to shows and while just about everybody is there to, and comes to my table to talk about what they like, every now and then you'll get somebody who wants to come up and start a fight about, Alan Scott. And what the best part about that is that I'm equipped with the truth, which is like, the things they're mad about are things that have nothing to do with me. Right. Like Alan Scott came out of the closet before my book. It didn't, I came to the thing and just try to give you a story that would help you understand why that's an important thing for you as a reader to know about him, what it means about his character and why it makes him the hero that he is. But otherwise, those decisions weren't mine. That's all happens at the corporate level.
And you told me last time that the Nodell family was like totally.
I became friends with them. Yeah, they're wonderful. Spencer and his grandson, they're wonderful.
But it's one of those things like, how many of these dudes were Alan Scott fans before?
Oh, they did. Yeah, but they don't know anything about him. They hear one Comicsgate guy will say something, and then they all believe it as gospel. The one that kills me is, how dare? First of all right, hang on. There's a couple of things. There's a couple of things to unpack here, but they'll be like, how dare they turn the family man, Alan Scott, who raised these two beautiful children? How dare they make him gay? And I'm like, well, first of all. Gay people raise families, and there's nothing weird or wrong about that. and kids are kids. And then the other thing about it is that Todd has been out of the closet longer than Alan, so that's
right.
a whole other thing, and he's been very comfortable with who he is. But what drives me nuts is when you just don't even know the lore, you don't even know the history. He didn't even know he had kids until they were adults, till they were in Infinity Inc. I kind of tried to do the closest thing there is to a retcon in my book is that I had him go back. I make reference to the fact that once in the future, when he finally unlocks his ability to move through time, at some point, he's going to, the first and maybe only thing he's going to do is go back and from a distance watch his kids grow up. Mm-hmm. And so he will become that guy. But historically, he wasn't some, 1950s, dad who was, taking care of the kids. That wasn't his story. So, his story, in fact, those kids were conceived in a very devious and awful way, and so there's there's so much story to it that's very complicated that people don't even know it. So they just regurgitate something they heard one person say on the internet. Yeah. But the most insidious and awful part of that is the implication that a gay person can't be a family person. Like, that's just the dumbest, but the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Yeah. And I've heard some pretty dumb shit from those guys.
But dude, what are they going to get out of that too? I'm going to go to this con. I'm going to pay money. There's like hundreds of creators that I can meet. I need to go dunk on this guy.
This one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, but they don't know. Like, they come up and they'll be like, "Why did you make Alan Scott gay?" And I'm just like, "Well, we're already starting on a weird spot because I didn't."
Yeah.
Like if you want to go find Tynan's table, like maybe you could go ask him the question about Infinite Frontier, but or James Robinson if he's around, ask him. But but really your question is really for DC. They're the ones who own the characters. They're the ones who make these decisions. We don't get to just do what we want. Most of the time when I was at DC before I came to Alan Scott, I was lucky to get to do what I wanted. It was a constant, I'm pitching stuff and I'm constantly getting roadblocks and no, this is where we want the story to go. This is the character we want you to use, not these characters. And, ultimately they have every reason and right to do that. They own the characters. They own the story. It belongs to them. I'm just a steward. I'm somebody who's there to help and try to lend my talents to help, bring people to these characters and these stories. But these things belong to DC. As much as we want them to belong to us, they belong to Warner Brothers and DC or Disney and Marvel or whoever the stakeholder is.
I'm hoping that in Lanterns they don't mention Alan Scott. He wasn't on the mural in Superman, which kind of made me mad. But also, I know that Lanterns was being made at that time, so I'm like, there must be a reason why Alan isn't on the mural. But dude, I think I said it last time, and I'll say it again. Hopefully, Lanterns is a huge success, and people have a big sort of like want for more Green Lantern stuff. Fans have been waiting since 2011 to get for the rest of the world to catch up with on how cool Green Lantern is. But I would love a limited series on HBO based on your Alan Scott story. I think it would be so freaking rad. So hopefully they don't mess around with him in the show and he's not murdered.
The problem with that is I wish for that too, except they'll never hire me to write it. That's not how they do it.
They wouldn't?
No, they'll hire some big celebrity to come in and do it. Like I will, and I'll watch from afar and be happy about it, and maybe I'll get invited to a premiere or something. But
I mean, Tom, I've been watching Tom King everyone's getting back into Woman of Tomorrow.
But Tom didn't write the Supergirl movie.
He's totally. But I'm loving his reaction to people reacting to the movie. Yeah, it feels like he still has an ownership of it. So for me,
he does. He's there. He's involved. I mean, but he didn't get to script it, and that's why I feel like, if they make the Alan Scott show, I'm going to be sadly like watching from afar. The one that'll kill me, that one will be tough. But if somebody ever adapts Teen Titans Academy for some reason in the future, I'm going to be, especially like if it's animation, which I work a lot in animation. I'm just going to be so sad. I'm just going to be so sad.
Where are we at right now? Oh, we've been on about an hour. Is there anything else you want to say about this book? You were concerned that maybe I might not have liked it, and I was like, oh, we can always just talk about MOTU if I didn't like it. I read this in the last 24 hours.
Oh, good.
Basically. So I didn't know if I was going to like it or not until I finished this morning.
Well, look, man, I wasn't sure I was going to like it. Like, it was a weird prospect when Andrea Shea called me, and like the way I said to Andrea many times, I'm like, this is no way to make a comic book. What are we doing? Like I was like flabbergasted through the whole thing. I didn't, it was a wild ride, but she is so good, and she's got such a handle on how to bring that book together. I mean, if people knew how difficult that job is just on that one book. Meanwhile, she's got 40 other books that she's the editor of, and making happen.
How many writers are on this book?
Yeah, writers and artists and
6.
letterers and every type of person. There are other editors as well, but Andrea Shea,
all these credits,
has to bring all of that together.
Yeah.
Has to make all of that stuff sing in harmony. And so she does it, and she does it like very well. She makes all of us look good, like we know what we're doing. And I really, really appreciate that. But it was a while. So I didn't know if it was going to work.
It works.
And so we had no idea. And we tried, and we did the best thing we could. And ultimately, at the very least, I think what you get is a little bit more insight into some of these characters. And for me, especially Alan and Johnny, which is an interesting thing. I mean, we get to hang out a little bit with Johnny Ladd, which is a sort of a tragic sort of thing. I mean, Johnny Ladd didn't actually exist, maybe. So it's insight into Alan's psyche, but it's a sweet coda to that story. A person he fell in love with who maybe didn't exist, and he has to say goodbye. At some point you've got to say goodbye.
That's the thing that I absolutely loved about that, because I have my wife said she wanted to read this. I said, you got to read the other one first, because it really helped with the story towards the end with Alan and Johnny, and basically Alan being like, I'm happy here. Like, I'm this world that was created where we can be together. I'm happy here. And the fact that it's Johnny who's the one says, hey, you're the hero. You should go on and do this thing. That really got me. And it's because I read the other book. And then him showing him everybody in the bar and stuff like that. It hit me. It was very, very emotional because I'm so invested in those characters. Will said here that you did great. Wish you got to write more Alan, and especially Vlad. Like, I would love to see more. I'm not sure what's going on with Ethan. Is the character Ethan?
Yeah, Ethan Rivera.
Yeah.
Ethan Rivera. The I don't know that they've canonically said it, but I see. Internally, I was referring to Ethan as the Crimson Host, the new Crimson Host.
Right.
But the Crimson Host in my book, in the Alan Scott book, was a team of Soviet super soldiers created with the Crimson Flame energy. But this is sort of a residual wisp of crimson energy that needs an outlet, needs someone.
Continuation? Are we going to get more?
I mean, look, I love that character, and I would love to do more with Ethan and see more of his story. But I think that one's. I don't know about that one. I have ideas for what I would do, but I don't know. I will say that I have pitched DC, follow-ups to Alan Scott and to this DC Pride story. And, it's just a
Eisner,
matter of
Eisner nominated.
Both Eisner nominated.
I mean,
but I've pitched them, and it's just a matter of like whether it makes sense in their sort of strategy, whether they have a hunger to do it and to make more. And I know, Kian, it's not just me, by the way. I had some ideas. I talked to Kian about them. We kicked it around a little bit, and so Kian and I, made a pitch to DC to see what we could do. And I mean, if fans ask for it, maybe they'll go for it. Maybe they'll do it. But, But it's also one of those things that it could be something we revisit much later. I mean, who knows? We're only just now reading, the Hush sequel and the Long Halloween finale, and so those have been around a while. So you never know. Yeah. Not that I would compare my book to those books, but
Will asks how can we help?
Yeah, I mean,
just go
keep reading.
DC on Threads.
keep reading. Encourage people to pick up. Alan Scott, encourage them to pick up DC Pride: The Heart Wants, which is the hardcover edition, trade edition of DC Pride 2025, and that is available now. And when you have the opportunity, ask for it by name. Let DC know that that's what you'd like. And
so everybody should go bother them on Threads and Blue Sky and. Go.
Well, don't harass them now.
But
they do, like, whenever there's an opportunity to let them know what you are looking for, hopefully you'll ask for Kian and I to come back and give you the next, chapter of that story. There's more, there is more to it. That wasn't the ending.
Right.
So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get a chance to at some point. It's really good. DC's desire will drive that, and their desire will be driven by the desire of the fans. So hopefully people will want it.
I want to say that my favorite two Green Lantern stories in the last 10 years were probably Far Sector and Alan Scott.
That's high praise. The Far Sector is great.
And Joe is represented in this book as well. Really enjoyed Joe's story. It's always great to see her sort of embraced, like for a fairly new character. Yeah,
tragic, beautiful story in DC Pride for Joe. Yeah.
So I highly recommend the book. If you're a Green Lantern fan, there's plenty of Green Lantern stuff. If there's like me, there's a lot of characters I don't know from DC. It seems like a lot were pulled. I'm now a fan of the Midnighter, Ragdoll. I love Ragdoll.
Oh, you got to read Steve Orlando's Midnighter stuff. It's so good.
Okay.
So
and
good.
Then Blue Snowman.
Yeah, Blue Snowman. So good.
I assume they pulled that out of some weird under a rock from like a million years ago. I'd never heard of Blue Snowman before.
They've been around a long time.
Yeah. So I'll have to check that out. But Tim, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to mention?
No, just, do me a favor and don't just pick up DC Pride: The Heart Wants. Also pick up that issue 1 of Masters of the Universe: The Wings of Fate, which is out tomorrow. If you can pick it up in the first week, that tells people that you want more of those kind of stories. Hopefully stories that'll get kids back into comic book shops and back into Masters of the Universe, which...
And that's from Dark Horse.
That's Dark Horse, Dark Horse.
I mean, go see the Masters of the Universe movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, go see that.
Go see the movie.
Definitely. It's really fun. Like I don't know if some people, you never know what people have heard about it, but if you just look at the popcorn meter on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it's so high. Like, people really love this movie. They're having a great time watching it, and it's the kind of movie you want to see on the big screen because it's spectacular. I mean, it's big and the music is so good. It's got this real 80s. Brian May is on there, and it's got this 80s sort of synth sound that comes up every now and then that reminds me of Transformers the movie from '86. It's got like this Vince DiCola sound, and it just really just gets you going. It's a fun
vibe of like Flash Gordon to me, but not as boring.
There's there's a Queen song in the movie. That's right.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Not from Flash Gordon though, from Highlander.
Not from but I mean, yeah. Let me ask you one more question because I've seen it come up. And do you think it's a coincidence that Masters of the Universe came out the first weekend of Pride Month?
I made a joke about it. Somebody said, somebody on socials said it was releasing this movie during Pride Month was certainly a choice. And I made a joke. I was like, no, it wasn't. They had no choice. They had to release it during Pride Month. Look at what he's not wearing. No, it's look, there's no question that Masters of the Universe has a huge queer fan base. But that's also because it has a huge fan base of people of all kinds who love it. There's a lot to love about it. So, I think look, big movies like this usually come out in June. So I don't know that, it was an intentional thing.
There's a shot where Adam, when he first turns into He-Man, you get a POV shot of him looking down at his abs. Yeah. And I'm like, I totally get it. Like, I get it.
Great shot. Like, listen, it could be for queer people, but I also have to say, you want to have something for the ladies, too. Like, I mean, Masters of the Universe had the possibility that a bunch of 40-something men would go see it, and that's it. But you want to be able to bring your wives and girlfriends to see it too, and I think Nicholas gives you an eyeful that maybe the ladies would enjoy. So. Right.
But also, like, for me, seeing Tila, Sorceress, and Evelyn in live action for me was also like, okay. Yeah. And then Trapjaw.
They were great too. They were so good. And Trapjaw, like, they did such a good job of making the toys come to life. I mean, it really, they're so authentic to those toys. Trapjaw is a great example.
There's one thing that bothered me about the movie.
Uh-oh.
Only one thing. And I thought it was going to be changed from the time I saw the early version, because the early version I saw, room full of MOTU fans, completely jam-packed. They filled every single seat. We could see C-stands, lights, microphones, everything. Like, it was a real rough version, but we were like way into it. There's one thing that I'm like, oh, they'll fix that by the time the movie comes out. They didn't. And that's Triclops' eyes don't swivel.
Wait. You never see them move?
I don't think you see his eyes swivel.
Well,
I'll have to watch it again.
I wonder if this is a Mandela effect thing, because now I'm like, oh, maybe they don't. But like in my memory they did, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think I think it's always set to circle.
Ralph, let me tell you. Here we go. Well, first of all, my Chronicles action figure at home right now is set to triangle. But I think this is like just a good reason for us to have to see it again.
Yeah, I'll go see it again. My wife, she was so tired. It was after we went Friday. I had a busy weekend, so we went Friday night, and she was tired, and she says, I think I need to see it again. She's like, I just wasn't. She says, maybe I wasn't into it or something. Some random guy got the seat next to her. How someone just buy that one seat right in the between two parties.
That's the thing about movies. The one tough thing about movies these days is that movies don't police the theaters like they used to when we were kids. People's etiquette in a movie theater has really just gone away. There's just nothing left anymore. Everybody thinks they're in their living room, and the way they behave in their living room is kind of uncivilized. So they're really saying a lot about themselves. So that's the one thing that I worry about with movies these days. Everybody complains. Everybody says, oh, Hollywood's not making good movies. That's why people don't go to the movies. I'm like, heck no. There are great movies out there. Right. Great movies are being made every day. But why don't you talk to your exhibitors, and your movie theaters about why people don't go to the movies? Because they need to do a better job of making it a place that we go, we love going to, that we feel safe. We don't feel like we've been robbed at the concession counter. There's, I think exhibitors could help us out a lot in Hollywood, and keep movies alive. But until then, Masters of the Universe will end up on Amazon at some point, and I will be very happy to watch it on my big screen TV in my home over and over again. And I will definitely be looking for Merman.
Yeah. Alrighty, Tim, thanks for joining me. We'll have to do it again sometime. Maybe I'll see you at Fan Expo here in Anaheim.
You better come to Fan Expo Anaheim.
I need to check my calendar.
It's the last weekend of the month, I think, like 26, 27, 28, I think, of this month. So
I feel like the 27th I'm doing something.
Of course you are.
Of course I am.
But there's 2 other days. 2 other days you can come.
I have a photo shoot on the 27th. I have nothing going on the 28th.
There you go.
We'll see.
We go.
All right. So I'll probably see you then. Everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us live. Tim, thank you and thanks for the books. They're awesome. I feel bad because I haven't supported your books monetarily. Actually, no, I did buy this digitally, but you sent me this.
Yeah. And also, if you don't think talking about them and saying nice things about them and having me on to promote them is doing anything for the books monetarily, you're an insane person.
This is so sweet. I want to put this up on my wall somewhere.
Oh.
Probably there's room there. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll be back on Tuesday, a week from today, talking about Green Lantern Corps 17 with Vactor. Mm-hmm. So until then, beware my podcast. It's Lanterns Live. Bye. That's a good ring.
I love this ring.